Hey everyone, so it's week 8, and I kind of just want to start off this video with kind of adding on a little bit of information from my last video on names. I just want to add that my partner, Christina, was the one that really convinced me to keep the first initial in my name. Because before I was really sticking to Aiden, but she really convinced me to keep the J, so that's kind of how Jayden came along. And the both of us really worked together to really figure out the best way to spell Jayden, because I don't know if a lot of people have seen different versions of it, but I don't. We have, and so we just want to pick the best way that really um, looks best and really fits me as a person. So yeah, that's a little bit more about how I uh, got the name Jayden. Second of all, for personal reasons, will no longer be able to do our Thursday videos. Um, but she does have her own personal YouTube account if y'all want to check it out. It's going to be in the description below. Go ahead and check out her personal channel because she's an awesome person and we want to show her all the love and support that we can. So right now our Thursdays are open on our channel, but we do have a new person named Jules, and I'm gonna let Jules introduce themselves when their day comes along. So please give them a warm welcome to our channel. Um, so I guess that kind of brings us to um, our topic for this week, which is preferred gender pronouns, or PGP. So my PGP is he, him, his, or masculine male pronouns. And I know we kind of touched base on being our experiences with being misgendered a couple weeks or a couple of videos back. But I guess this week we're going to talk a little bit more about it, like delve in deeper about our gender pronouns, preferred gender pronouns, and what that really means to us and how it affects us. So I think so. Okay, being misgendered is a horrible feeling for me, and it happens a whole lot right now. And I know I've talked a little bit about this, about being misgendered a lot now right now because I'm really early in my transition process. I've only been on T for almost 2 months now, and my voice is just starting to crack and lower. So it's really hard. I'm either seen as, a woman or a prepubescent boy that's kind of going through puberty right now, just because the voice is starting to crack. But it's really interesting how I observe it as of late, that when I'm in a crowd of only females, like female identified individuals, that I get mistaken as a woman, like a lesbian, when I'm in a crowd exclusively of female body individuals. But if I'm in a crowd of male identified individuals or a mixed crowd, I'm seen more as a man. And I thought that was really interesting how that kind of works, and how, I'm kind of associated with the group that I'm with, and my identity and how I'm perceived. It really depends on who I'm with at the moment. Sometimes, depending on the situation, sort of like at a restaurant when someone's taking the table's order, sometimes I don't even get ma'am or sir. Sometimes I just don't get anything, and that's really awkward for me too. So, like, for example, a server would go around like, "Ma'am, what would you want? Sir, what would you like? Ma'am, what's your order?" And then they come to me like, "What would you like?" Because they don't know how to address me. Um, that, in a way, that also invalidates me, and that puts me in an awkward position, because, like, do I correct you, or are you just rude enough to not address me like you address everyone else? it kind of singles me out from the rest of the group, and sometimes I really don't know how to address that. Sometimes that happens in like social settings, and no one asks about my PGP. They just assume, and I hate it when people assume my identity and how I address myself and how I see myself. So during times when I do get misgendered, like when I get ma'amed or she or her, there are times when I feel like I'm in a position that I can't advocate for myself. It really depends on the environment and the situation and the people, but there are times when I feel like I can't speak up for myself. And I'm very fortunate to have an incredible partner who um, will speak up for me and will correct the person if they address me by the wrong gender pronoun. Um, so I'm very fortunate to have an advocate for me, and it goes the same for my friends too. It's very affirming and validating, and it's feels incredible to have people in my life who are willing to put themselves out there to advocate for me when they don't have to. They really don't, but they do, and I think that's fantastic, and that makes me feel very affirmed that they see what I see, and they're making sure that other people see what I see as well, and the, and it's even better when they do this when I'm not there. Like if I'm not in that setting and someone refers to me by the wrong gender pronoun, they don't have to make sure that I see them affirm me and my identity. They automatically do it, and I think that is a fantastic feeling, to have people in my life that does that, and that being misgendered really affects me a whole lot, especially when I'm just starting to identify, not start to identify, but start to transition past more, because I'm still kind of a baby trans. I've only identified as trans for a little bit under a year, and only started socially transitioning for about 8 months, and starting hormones for 2 months. So I'm still early in this, and for me in this stage of my process, I'm still very really striving for self-esteem to identify as a trans man. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, when I get misgendered, it really affects how I see myself. Like, I really question, am I passing? And I don't really care for that word sometimes. But if I'm being perceived as a man, if I'm ever going to be seen as a man, or am I just going to be a boy, or if I'm just going to be seen as a very, very masculine woman. Like, if I'm ever going to be seen as the man that I see myself. So when I get misgendered, that's what goes in my head a lot. And it's really hard for me to be in public and people misgender me, because that really affects me. It's kind of different when it's among friends. So most of my friends I've known for a while, most of them several years, and they've known me long before I started identifying as Jayden. So their switch is a little bit harder, but most of them have been doing fantastically. And you know what? Every once in a while they slip up, and then they catch themselves, which is completely fine. And I understand it's really hard to transition. This is not just a transition process for me; it's a transition process for everyone else around me. So, excuse me, for them to slip up every once in a while, that's totally fine, and that doesn't hurt me as much as if I get automatically misgendered because of how I'm perceived by other people. But it's also really important for individuals, even if they have known, me for a long time or just meeting me recently, it's really important for them to still continue to respect my PGP as well as, other trans individuals' PGPs and even cisgendered people, their pronouns. It's really important because that really supports how they identify themselves and how they see themselves. And really it creates an atmosphere that we shouldn't assume things about other people. So like their sexual orientation, gender, other forms of identity. It creates an atmosphere of curiosity where we are able to ask questions, because you know what, I'd rather be asked questions than be assumed who I am. So I'm the type of person who's very open about myself and welcome questions, and I know that's not always the case for other people, but for me specifically, I rather people ask me questions like, what's your PGP, how do you identify, what's your identity, so rather than them putting a label on me and assuming that's how I identify. um but yeah, I mean, I can't really think of too much else. It's just that, PGP for me is very important for me, and in this stage in the process, and the way the world sees me right now, really affects how I see myself, and really questions my transition process. You know, for so long I've identified as female, and that didn't fit me, and now that I identify as a man and people still see me as a woman, it makes me wonder if I'm really going to get anywhere in this process. So being asked my PGP and being referred to by my PGP really makes me feel that I can go through this process successfully, and that, one day I will be able to be seen as a man by everyone, not just by myself. And I know that it's really important for me to see me for who I am, and that I see myself as a man the way that I feel I am. But at the same time, I'd like to have that validation from those around me. And when I don't get that, it hurts. It really does. Um, but yeah, I feel like I'm going a little bit in circles with this topic, so I'm just gonna go ahead and end it right here. But if you have any other questions, please feel free to comment below or shoot an email to our channel. I check all of them. But yeah, I'll see you in 2 weeks.